Magandang buhay! This is Elsa Reyes, holistic wellness advocate, inner healing facilitator, author, and radio host. Kumusta kayong lahat? Uy, ilang taon na ba kayo? Actually, ako, I'm 51 years old. Yes, I'm 51 years old. And I'm happily single, although I have to admit, of course, there are times when I'm also hoping that perhaps one day I would get married. But, well, that's a little secret that I'm telling you, and it's no longer a secret that I'm still open to marriage. Oh, you might say, why is she speaking during this singles conference? Well, let me tell you. Because whether I end up getting married or not, the important thing is I am responding to God's call for me to be an instrument of love to other people. Yep, that's the secret. Married or not, whatever state we are in, we need to be able to experience the fullness of God's love for us. And so let me share with you what my secret is of trying to be joyful and peaceful at the age of 51. And this little secret is faith. Wow, faith. It doesn't mean that I do not have moments when I am feeling fearful, but I do try to practice faith. But faith here is actually an acronym I will share with you, dear friends. F, first of all, letter F, is fruitfulness. According to Eric Erickson in his psychosocial stages of development, at this age, parenthood is important. Generativity is essential for people like me and even you, right? So, how can I put into practice generativity and parenthood when I'm not a biological parent? Ha ha ha. Actually, we can all be loving parents to others. We might not be biological parents, but we can experience spiritual parenthood. We can actually share the love of God with so many people, even if we are not related to them by blood. And I've been called to the mission of inner healing. Actually, I'd like to share with you one of my favorite verses in which I felt God calling me to be an instrument of His healing love with other people. And it is from Song of Songs, in particular, Song of Songs 2:10. Arise, my beloved, my beautiful one, and come. Why is it for me a very beautiful verse? You know, a little cuento here, okay? When my parents separated, I was 13 years old. Yup, I was just on my first year of being a teenager. In the beginning, I was thinking, oh, well, a lot of families are broken all over the world. It's something, well, not so unusual, right? But it hurt nevertheless. And I did experience the effects of the separation of my parents. I was feeling broken. I had a lot of anger, even towards God, I must confess. And I was asking, if you are real, God, then why did you allow my parents to separate? Well, that's a long story, but in short, God healed me of it and He gave me the grace not only to forgive myself, but people who hurt me and to ask forgiveness from the people I hurt because of me really, let's say, letting my anger destroy my peace of mind. Okay, so I asked God for the grace to be able to experience His forgiveness to a great extent. And God is so faithful. If there's one thing He wants us to experience, it's His healing love and also His merciful love. And so I experienced that. And in Song of Songs 2:10, it says, arise, my beloved. So He invited me to see my worth and my dignity in the light of His unconditional love for me. And in that sense, He was inviting me to get up from my woundedness and from my hurts. So arise. And then He reminded me, I love you. You are my beloved. You are not my slave. You are my beloved. My beautiful one, look at your inner beauty. Don't just focus on the externals, but look at your inner beauty. And as I am mending you, let this beauty radiate to others. My beloved, my beautiful one, and come. So He was inviting me to mission, to be this wounded healer being sent to others so that they could experience His healing love as well. So fruitfulness, with the mission that He has placed in my heart, He has sent me to so many groups, institutions, but most of all to people He has asked me to accompany on on their road to wholeness and healing. So we can produce, we can use the experiences of God's love, His virtues, values, the lessons that He has taught us, and of course, the talents that He has given us to be able to share these talents and gifts with others so that they will know that God is real and He is alive in them as well. So, F for fruitfulness doesn't mean that if we are single, we are like these, the joke about singles, like frozen delights. We don't need to be frozen. We could be so full of God's love, being in love with Him and being in love with life, having this zest for life and saying thank you every day that we are breathing and we are thriving even amidst this pandemic. Doesn't mean that we do not have challenges or fears, right? But we can continue to be fruitful. So F for fruitfulness. And then the next is A, availability. Because we are singles and not attached to particular individuals in the way married people are and in the way biological parents are, then we can accompany other people in their particular context, right? As a single person, I've been to so many places, not only in the Philippines, but around the world. But of course, during this pandemic, there are limitations. So we can still be in touch and involved in the lives of other people. So there's a certain extent to which we can be available. Of course, we can't really spread ourselves too thinly to the point where we burn out, right? But we have this gift of availability as single people. So, F for fruitfulness, A for availability. Then there's this opportunity for innovation. We can be open to so many, many opportunities. And these opportunities would be to grow as individuals, to expand our territory. Remember that prayer of Jabez, right? Lord, expand our territory. We can learn so many new skills and add to our knowledge not only in a cerebral way but in an experiential way. Ang dami-daming online certifications that we can have, right? We can enroll in these courses online. And so we have a lot of time in our hands and these opportunities to keep on, within quotation marks, reinventing ourselves. So even if, let's say, you're 50, 51, or even 60, as long as we are open to the graces of God, we can keep on growing and learning new things, even new lessons, right? Meeting new people. So thanks be to God, with social media, we can be in touch with old friends and even get to see who are the people we can meet and learn from and learn with, right? So fruitfulness, availability, innovation, and of course, letter T, very important. And letter T would be Trinity, the experience of the Trinitarian love. Sometimes when we are so close to people, there's this tendency to be so attached to them that we might forget to experience solitude, have this sacred space with God because we're so busy taking care of others. Although this is an invitation also even for married people, but the question is, do we always base our worth on the Holy Trinity, on Papa God, on our Lord Jesus, and on the Holy Spirit? Sometimes we have a lot of crutches. Even our career could be a crutch, our achievements could be a crutch, people around us could be a crutch. So as single persons, we are invited to have moments of solitude with God, to have that sacred space where we ask ourselves, is God really number one in my life? Or are there other things and people who occupy the number one spot in our hearts? Even I have to ask myself that question on a regular basis. And thanks be to God, because of moments of solitude, He brings me back to a proper alignment, so to speak. So, letter T is my worth based on the Trinity, on God's holy, unconditional, merciful, sacrificial love, and very deep love for me at that. And finally, letter H is healing. It doesn't mean that if we are already 50 or 60, we've been healed of everything. Perhaps not, because if that were the case, then we would already be in heaven, right? Life is not perfect. We still get wounded, we still get hurt. And so the question is, are we growing in terms of being healed by God in all areas of our life? I think we should never stop rather asking, Lord, what still needs healing in me? Do I have emotional baggage from the past? Do I have trigger points that need to be addressed? Healing is a process, and sometimes we're not comfortable with the word process or the experience of process. Inner healing is like peeling an onion layer by layer, and sometimes we're not prepared to see what still needs to be healed in us. And so it doesn't matter what age we are in, God could keep showing us that, hey, kailangan pa ng mas malalim na paghihilom dyan sa area ng buhay mo, no? So, it's nice to keep a healing journal as well, and to not be afraid to keep asking Him this. Lord, if there are still things I am blind to, then please show me the way and help me experience your mercy in all areas of my life. Sometimes we could be using ministry as a crutch, or even our achievements, or even relationships with other people, even so-called friendships with others. These could be a crutch in an unhealthy way. Doesn't mean we won't be attached to certain individuals in a good way, because we need people in our lives as well as they needing us, right? We have a certain healthy attachment to people we have been called to journey with, and we must value the people God has given to us as gifts. However, sometimes because of these attachments, we could be blind, as I said earlier, to certain wounds that need to be addressed by God. And so, age for healing. And as we are being healed, we are also being called, in the same way that He has called me, to be a wounded healer to others. The invitation is to grow in healing, wholeness, and holiness. So, to summarize, I'd like to share with you the beauty of the single life through faith. F through fruitfulness, A through availability, I through innovation, T through the experience of the Trinity, T for Trinity, Trinitarian love, and finally H for healing. I have to admit once again, I'm still open to marriage, because I remember when I was still young, a mentor told me, Ilsa, expect the unexpected. And I also recall having met somebody from a parish in Parañaque, and she said, I got married in my late 50s. I was almost 60 years old, almost a senior citizen, and I'm happily married now. So I'm still open to getting married, I must confess. But whether we will end up getting married or not, or even entering the religious life, because there are some who have a late vocation, who are still accepted at a late age in religious communities, especially those abroad, right? Or you will stay single, or I will stay single for the rest of my life. The important thing is we continue to be God's missionaries of His love, that we are fulfilled in the way He has called us to be, experiencing His love and sharing it with others. We all have a vocation, we all have a call to share the goodness and love of God. F for fruitfulness, A for availability, I for innovation, T for Trinity, and H for healing. And so, dear friends, my challenge, my question is, how are we being called by God to increase our faith? How are we being called by God to increase our faith? And so, let me just share with you this very short line from a song. To keep your lovely face ever before my eyes, this is my prayer, make it my strong desire. Lord, please increase our faith.